You've felt it, haven't you? The shift in the air, the sudden silence where there used to be noise, people drifting away without explanation, plans dissolving like mist, and a strange restlessness pressing at your chest as if heaven itself is trying to get your attention. Nothing seems to fit anymore. The conversations that once excited you now feel hollow. The circles you once ran in suddenly feel too small. You wake up and sense something unseen is moving around you. It's not chaos, it's transition. There are moments lately when your soul feels under pressure, as though you're standing between two invisible doors, one closing behind you, one waiting to open. You don't know what to call it, but you can feel the familiar fading. The old friendships that once felt stable now fall silent. The jobs, the habits, the small distractions that used to comfort you suddenly feel heavy, meaningless, almost foreign. You're not broken. You're being called higher. This tension isn't random. It's heaven whispering, enough wandering. That heaviness in your chest. The nights where sleep doesn't come easily, it's not anxiety. It's alignment. You've been told. You've changed. As if that's an accusation. But deep down, something within you knows you're not changing for worse. You're shedding what no longer fits your destiny. When heaven begins to move someone toward purpose, everything unaligned with that purpose begins to fall away. It's not punishment, it's pruning. You're losing not because you're cursed, but because you're being cleared. The very connections that once felt necessary are being stripped away to make room for something sacred. It hurts, it's confusing, but it's divine strategy. Lately, even the way you pray has shifted. Words feel different. You find yourself sitting in silence more than speaking. You're no longer begging for things to return to normal because some part of you realizes you're not meant to go back. What left was never meant to stay for this season. And though this inner stretching feels uncomfortable, it's the sign that heaven is enlarging your capacity. The delay, the isolation, the sudden endings, they are all ingredients of divine preparation. Because sometimes God removes your audience so He can reveal your identity. You've been wondering, why now? Why all at once? But listen, heaven's timing is perfect. The shaking around you is proof that what's coming carries weight. The unrest within you is the stirring of destiny. It's your soul remembering it was made for more than survival. As the days pass, you may notice patterns, doors closing right after you've prayed for direction. Don't panic. That's not rejection. It's redirection. Every time something slips away, God is saying, not that one. I have better. There's refining happening in silence, in solitude, in the space between endings and beginnings. You've noticed that what used to distract you no longer satisfies you. The conversations that once entertained you now sound shallow. You can't tolerate small talk when your spirit is craving transformation. It's not pride, it's growth. You're being elevated, and elevation requires separation. And maybe right now, you feel like everything familiar has turned its back on you. But hear this, heaven never abandoned you. God has been watching, not from a distance, but with the steady gaze of a father who knows exactly what he's building in you. The silence you fear is not absence, it's focus. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 23 on verse 4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff. They comfort me. You may not see it yet, but this valley you're in is not a grave, it's a classroom. God is teaching you how to stand without applause. He's teaching you how to hear His voice above the world's noise. And when the time comes, He will bring back what truly belongs to you, purified and strengthened. So don't resist this holy disconnection. Don't chase what's leaving. Don't beg for doors to reopen that God has shut. You are being repositioned, not punished. Every loss is a setup for divine laughter, the moment when heaven looks down and says, "Now I see faith." If this word resonates in your spirit, pause now and type 111 in the comments. Declare that you hear what heaven is saying. Take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and if you feel led, donate to help spread this message. The harvest is great, and every seed you sow keeps the light burning. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of heaven's laughter over your faith. Listen closely now, because this is where many lose their footing. You've been mistaking struggle for failure. You've been calling something dead that is only being refined. There is a holy difference between the two. Struggle is the evidence of movement, the sound of your spirit pushing against resistance. Failure is when you stop moving entirely. Heaven does not condemn your struggle, it recognizes it as proof that you are still in the fight. Too often the world teaches you that if something isn't easy, it's wrong. But in the kingdom, difficulty is often a sign of destiny. The seed buried in the soil looks like it's been forgotten. But underneath the darkness, something powerful is breaking open, and you are that seed. The pressure is not punishment, it's preparation. Don't confuse being pressed with being crushed. Let this sink in. Your battle is not evidence that God has left you. It's evidence that He has trusted you with something worth defending. The struggle you're in right now is not against people, not against circumstance. It's the collision between your calling and the resistance that fears what you're about to become. When you feel weary, pause and ask yourself, am I failing or am I fighting? Because the moment you choose to keep going, even trembling, heaven records it as victory. Faith doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers, "I will not give up today." That whisper shakes the spiritual world more than you realize. Every great move of God began with someone who refused to confuse struggle with defeat. David faced Goliath not as a warrior of reputation, but as a shepherd trained in obscurity. The stone in his hand was not just a weapon, it was proof that preparation had been happening long before the battle. Your struggle is your training ground. Your pain is heaven's investment in your growth. Now take this from theory to life. Today, choose one small step that says, "I'm still fighting." Maybe it's opening your Bible tonight instead of scrolling. Maybe it's forgiving that person you said you never would. Maybe it's writing down the dream you almost buried, or praying again even when you feel nothing. Choose one act of faith and do it within the next 24 hours. Don't wait for motivation, movement will create it. This is how you turn revelation into reality, how you tell both heaven and hell, "I may bend, but I will not break." You've been waiting for the feeling of strength before acting, but strength comes after obedience. Take the step first, then watch strength appear. The enemy doesn't fear your emotions, he fears your consistency. Every time you stand when you could sit, speak when you could stay silent, or pray when you could complain, you advance heaven's territory on earth. You might not see immediate results, but growth happens underground before it's visible. Don't dig up your seed because you haven't seen fruit yet. Your persistence is the rain that will make it bloom. As the ancient words recorded in Romans still echo today. Chapter 8, verse 37 declares, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us." Notice what that verse doesn't say. It doesn't say you are a conqueror after the storm. It says you are more than a conqueror in the midst of it. Right here, right now. Even when you feel weak, heaven still calls you victorious. So when your mind whispers, "You've failed again," answer it with truth. "No, I'm still fighting." When you're tempted to withdraw, remind yourself, "The very fact that I'm still trying is proof that I haven't lost." This is how you reclaim your authority, by refusing to accept defeat as your final word. Let today be the day you make a vow not to be perfect, but to persist. Each small decision becomes a declaration to heaven that your faith is not for sale. And when you feel the weight of discouragement pressing on you, lift your eyes and imagine God watching not in disappointment, but in delight. He sees you choosing to stand. He sees the tears you hide, the effort no one else applauds, the quiet choice to believe. And he laughs in victory because he knows the end of your story already. Faith wins. So breathe, straighten your shoulders, and pick that one act of faith to practice today. And write it down, speak it aloud, make it real. Whether it's forgiving, rebuilding, or simply refusing to quit, let heaven hear your choice. This is not the season of failure, it's the season of formation. You don't need to win every battle today. You just need to keep showing up. For every step you take, heaven takes 10 toward you. The moment you act, angels move. The moment you choose faith, God's laughter resounds again because he sees it, the spark that hell could not extinguish. You've come through the shaking, the stripping, and the stretching, and now the real battle begins, the battle to keep your faith steady when everything around you still looks uncertain. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you, he just wants to distract you. He wants to turn your struggle inward so that you start doubting the very progress you've made. But listen carefully, you've already come too far to go back now. The moment you decided to stand, heaven recorded it. The moment you chose obedience over comfort, the atmosphere shifted. Yet, because your surroundings haven't changed instantly, the voice of fear whispers, maybe nothing happened. Don't believe that lie. God often works in silence first. The unseen movement is still movement. The delay is not denial. It's divine timing perfecting what you prayed for. There will be days when your mind grows weary, when your heart questions whether faith is worth it. In those moments, remember the same God who met you in the valley will meet you on the mountain. The silence between prayers and answers is where your character is forged. It's where your roots grow deep enough to carry the weight of future blessings. Let's be honest, faith is not glamorous. It's not constant fireworks and victories. It's often choosing to believe when nothing makes sense, when the only thing you can hold on to is a word God once spoke to your heart. But that's exactly why it's powerful. Because faith that needs no proof is the kind that moves mountains. You are being trained to see beyond what your eyes can register. Heaven is stretching your vision, teaching you to discern spiritual progress even when the physical remains still. This is why you've been isolated, so your sight can be purified. When God removes distractions, he's not punishing you. He's tuning your hearing to catch his frequency. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 7. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. Do you hear that? Blessed not when everything is fixed, but while you're still trusting. That's where heaven counts victory. Your blessings aren't postponed until the struggle ends. They start blooming the moment you choose trust over fear. So right now, take a breath and recognize where you are. You're standing between promise and manifestation, faith and fulfillment. This is sacred ground. The tension you feel is not punishment, it's proof that heaven is stretching something eternal inside you. You are being built into someone who can carry what's coming without collapsing. And in this moment, I want you to declare something simple but powerful. Type these words below, I still believe. Write it, not as a slogan, but as a covenant. Every time your fingers type it, heaven hears the sound of perseverance. Every word becomes a declaration against the voices that told you it's over. I still believe means even when I don't see the outcome, I trust the one who holds it. Even when I'm tired, I will not turn away. Even when I feel small, I know my faith is mighty in heaven's eyes. Don't underestimate the impact of a declaration. When you type those words, you're aligning your life with a prophetic truth. Faith still wins. You're marking yourself as one who refuses to bow to despair. And in that moment, God leans close and whispers, "That's what I've been waiting for." Every time you choose faith in uncertainty, the spiritual realm responds. Angels strengthen your steps, and darkness loses its grip. Heaven's laughter echoes not because you're perfect, but because your faith survived another test. So hold steady. Don't rush the process. The promise isn't delayed, it's being refined. Every battle you endure becomes fuel for the glory about to be revealed. One day soon, you'll look back and realize that every tear, every prayer, every moment you whispered, "I still believe," was building the foundation of a testimony that will set others free. And when that day comes, you'll understand why heaven laughed, because while the world saw a broken person, God saw a believer who refused to quit. You're not waiting for victory, you're walking through it right now. Your obedience, your endurance, your unshaken faith are already announcing heaven's triumph. So take your stand again today. Lift your head. Whisper it once more. Even through trembling lips, "I still believe." That's all heaven needs to move again. You've come through the shaking, the stripping, and the stretching. And now the real battle begins, the battle to keep your faith steady when everything around you still looks uncertain. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He just wants to distract you. He wants to turn your struggle inward so that you start doubting the very progress you've made. But listen carefully, you've already come too far to go back now. The moment you decided to stand, heaven recorded it. The moment you chose obedience over comfort, the atmosphere shifted. Yet, because your surroundings haven't changed instantly, the voice of fear whispers, "Maybe nothing happened." Don't believe that lie. God often works in silence first. The unseen movement is still movement. The delay is not denial. It's divine timing perfecting what you prayed for. There will be days when your mind grows weary, when your heart questions whether faith is worth it. In those moments, remember the same God who met you in the valley will meet you on the mountain. The silence between prayers and answers is where your character is forged. It's where your roots grow deep enough to carry the weight of future blessings. Let's be honest, faith is not glamorous. It's not constant fireworks and victories. It's often choosing to believe when nothing makes sense, when the only thing you can hold on to is a word God once spoke to your heart. But that's exactly why it's powerful. Because faith that needs no proof is the kind that moves mountains. You are being trained to see beyond what your eyes can register. Heaven is stretching your vision, teaching you to discern spiritual progress even when the physical remains still. This is why you've been isolated, so your sight can be purified. When God removes distractions, He's not punishing you. He's tuning your hearing to catch His frequency. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 7. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him. Do you hear that? Blessed not when everything is fixed, but while you're still trusting. That's where heaven counts victory. Your blessings aren't postponed until the struggle ends. They start blooming the moment you choose trust over fear. So right now, take a breath and recognize where you are. You're standing between promise and manifestation, faith and fulfillment. This is sacred ground. The tension you feel is not punishment, it's proof that heaven is stretching something eternal inside you. You are being built into someone who can carry what's coming without collapsing. And in this moment, I want you to declare something simple but powerful. Type these words below, "I still believe." Write it, not as a slogan, but as a covenant. Every time your fingers type it, heaven hears the sound of perseverance. Every word becomes a declaration against the voices that told you it's over. I still believe means even when I don't see the outcome, I trust the one who holds it. Even when I'm tired, I will not turn away. even when I feel small. I know my faith is mighty in heaven's eyes. Don't underestimate the impact of a declaration. When you type those words, God, you're aligning your life with a prophetic truth. Faith still wins. You're marking yourself as one who refuses to bow to despair. And in that moment, God leans close and whispers, "That's what I've been waiting for." And every time you choose faith in uncertainty, the spiritual realm responds. Angels strengthen your steps, and darkness loses its grip. Heaven's laughter echoes not because you're perfect, but because your faith survived another test. So hold steady. Don't rush the process. The promise isn't delayed, it's being refined. Every battle you endure becomes fuel for the glory about to be revealed. One day soon, you'll look back and realize that every tear, every prayer, every moment you whispered, "I still believe," was building the foundation of a testimony that will set others free. And when that day comes, you'll understand why heaven laughed. Because while the world saw a broken person, God saw a believer who refused to quit. You're not waiting for victory, you're walking through it right now. Your obedience, your endurance, your unshaken faith are already announcing heaven's triumph. So take your stand again today. Lift your head. Whisper it once more, even through trembling lips, "I still believe." That's all heaven needs to move again. There comes a moment when heaven's laughter starts echoing through the chaos. And if you listen closely, you'll feel it, a peace that doesn't make sense, a quiet strength rising from within. The war around you hasn't ended, but something inside has shifted. You are no longer trembling under the weight of uncertainty. You are standing in the calm of divine assurance. What you thought was destruction was actually God clearing space for new glory to rise. When God laughs, it isn't mockery, it's prophecy. It's the sound of victory announced before the battle concludes. It's the assurance that no plan of the enemy will stand. Heaven's laughter is not careless joy, it's the sound of strategy fulfilled. It means what was meant for your downfall has already been rewritten into your deliverance. You've been through so much. You've faced losses that made you question your worth, delays that made you doubt your prayers, betrayals that tried to convince you you're alone. Yet, look at you, still breathing, still standing, still searching for God's voice in the middle of the storm. That's not coincidence. That's divine resilience. You were never meant to break. You were meant to prove that faith outlasts fire. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17. "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." This verse isn't a slogan, it's a divine legal decree. It declares that even when the weapon is real, its success is not. The attack may form, but it will fail. The words against you may sound powerful, but they will crumble. Heaven is laughing because the ending has already been decided. God does not react to your enemies, He overrules them. So right here, in this very moment, stand still and breathe. You don't have to understand how the victory will unfold. You just need to believe that it's already written. The laughter of God means the outcome is secured. When He laughs, heaven moves, angels reposition, and chains start breaking in places you cannot see. But here's the part that many miss before God's laughter becomes your victory. It first becomes your test. He will let the situation appear hopeless just long enough to reveal whether your faith is built on circumstances or on covenant. The delay is never denial, it's divine filtration, separating shallow belief from deep trust. You've been asking for a sign that God still sees you. And here it is, the very fact that this message has reached you now. This is divine timing. Heaven interrupts the noise to remind you that your faith has already drawn a response. God is not ignoring you. He's aligning everything around you. And the next time you face resistance, Remember that God's laughter is echoing over your battle. You may not hear it with your ears, but your spirit can feel it, an unexplainable peace that whispers, "It's already done." That's why you don't need to panic when things fall apart. You just need to stand still and let heaven work. This is your moment to respond. Type 8888 in the comments if you received this word. 8 is the number of new beginnings, and heaven is declaring one over you. When you type it, and you're not just reacting, you're responding in faith. You're saying, "God, I may not see the full picture, but I trust you've already won it." Every time someone writes that number, heaven witnesses an act of agreement. Angels record it as a declaration. This battle ends in laughter, not in loss. That number becomes a prophetic signature, marking the moment when you stopped worrying and started walking in victory. You see, God's laughter isn't loud. It's layered with peace. It doesn't mock your pain, it redeems it. The sound of His joy is proof that your enemies will never have the final say. They can attack, but they cannot alter what has already been decreed. So let this sink deep. Heaven is not worried. God is not pacing the floors of eternity trying to find solutions. He is seated, smiling, ruling from rest, and if He can laugh, so can you. Let His laughter become your strength, your signal that the end of the storm is closer than you think. Type 888. Now if you feel faith stirring inside you, declare it as a sign that you will no longer live in fear of what could go wrong, but in expectation of what God is about to make right. Heaven has seen your endurance, and its laughter is the soundtrack of your victory. There are moments when heaven stands still, watching how you respond to the weight you carry. It's not that God is testing to break you. He's refining you to reveal something sacred. What if your pain isn't punishment but a hidden invitation? What if the very place you thought would destroy you is actually the soil where your greatest faith will grow? Picture this: a seed buried deep in darkness. It cannot see the sunlight, yet something inside it still reaches upward. It does not need proof that light exists. Its nature tells it the sun will return. That's you right now, buried, but not forgotten. Hidden, but not hopeless. What you call isolation, heaven calls incubation. The seed does not die when it's buried, it begins. You've walked through nights so long that you forgot what morning feels like. You've been unseen, unheard, undone. Yet somehow, your heart still whispers prayers that no one hears but God. That quiet faith, the faith that survives silence, is the kind that moves heaven. When God sees that kind of endurance, He doesn't pity you. He stands up for you. He releases divine laughter across your battlefield because He knows the one who refuses to quit will never be defeated. The Word of God declares in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Do you feel that truth? You are not lost in the crowd. You were made to illuminate it. Even when your light flickers, heaven still sees you as a torchbearer, one that cannot be hidden. You've been wondering why you can't seem to blend in anymore. Why the places you used to fit suddenly reject you. It's because light doesn't belong under shadows. You were created to stand out, not to disappear. Every storm that tried to silence you has only made your glow stronger. Every heartbreak carved more space for compassion inside you. Every loss cleared room for deeper purpose. You are not a mistaken motion, you are divine design unfolding. Now pause for a moment and breathe. If this word is reaching your heart right now, it's because heaven is reminding you you matter. Your story still carries power. Someone out there is standing in the same storm, waiting to see your light. And here's where you turn faith into fire. Don't let this message stop at your screen. Let it travel like a spark passing from torch to torch until the night itself begins to glow. When you click like, it's not about algorithms, it's you placing another stone on the altar of truth. When you share, it's like sending a lantern across the ocean, trusting that it will find the one lost sailor still looking for shore. And when you subscribe, you're not joining a channel, you're stepping into a circle of light bearers. People who refuse to let the world forget that faith still burns. You're saying, keep the flame alive, keep the words flowing. If you've been blessed and feel stirred to donate, do it as an act of faith, not obligation. Think of it as planting olive trees in a desert, creating shade and oil for those who will come after you. Every seed you sow here becomes a whisper of mercy somewhere else. When you water another's fire, heaven kindles your own, like as though you are striking a match in a dark room, saying, light still wins. Share as if you are sending a dove from your ark, carrying a leaf of hope to someone drowning in doubt. Subscribe like building a lighthouse on the edge of your faith, so others can find their way home. Donate as though you are pouring oil into the lamp of destiny, because the flame must never go out. Every act, no matter how small, is seen by heaven, and when heaven sees light moving, it multiplies it. This is how revival begins, not with noise, but with a spark passed from one heart to another. You may never know whose midnight your action brightens. You may never meet the soul that whispers thank you in tears when they hear the same words that once healed you. But heaven keeps record. Every act of sharing, every drop of generosity, every echo of amen becomes a thread in the tapestry of redemption. God's laughter over your life is proof that your obedience matters. You are part of something eternal now, the spreading of light, the multiplication of faith. The fire began in heaven, but it continues through you. So light your torch, chosen one. Let your click be your candle. Let your generosity be your oil. Let your voice be your flame, because the darkness still trembles at the sound of light moving forward. Take a deep breath. Feel the air around you. Don't rush this moment, just notice it. Something has shifted. The atmosphere you live in isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Every room carries a temperature of faith or fear, peace or pressure, presence or absence. The truth is, you've been feeling the weight of atmospheres lately, at work, at home, even in your mind. You sense when something is off. You enter a place, and though no one speaks, you feel heaviness pressing against your chest. That's not imagination. That's discernment. God has given you the ability to read the unseen weather of a moment. You can sense when something dark hovers, when hope feels fragile, when anxiety fills the air. But here's what heaven wants you to understand tonight. You are not meant to absorb the atmosphere. You are meant to shift it. Right now, take a moment to recognize the atmosphere around you. What does it feel like? Is it heavy, cold, tense, fearful, uncertain? Don't run from it. Identify it. Heaven can only heal what you're honest about. The moment you discern what kind of atmosphere you're in, you reclaim authority over it. Because the truth is, you are not a thermometer reflecting your surroundings. You are a thermostat setting them. The Word of God reminds us in the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 7, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." That peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not an emotion, it's a weapon. When peace enters a room, fear has to leave. When faith speaks, doubt runs out of air. So if the space you're standing in feels polluted with negativity, don't wait for it to change, speak to it. Heaven has already placed authority in your mouth. Maybe lately you've noticed your home feels heavy. conversations drain you, or thoughts spiral faster than usual. That's your cue. It's time to shift the atmosphere. Not with noise, not with arguments, but with presence. Start by inviting God into it. Right now, whisper, "Lord, saturate this space." You don't need to be loud. Authority doesn't shout, it stands. Walk through your room and begin to declare what heaven has already said. Peace lives here. Joy lives here. Fear. You have no room here. You'll be amazed at how fast the air changes when faith speaks. But don't stop there. Faith isn't just spoken, it's demonstrated. So here's your call to practice. Identify one small action you can take today to embody faith in your environment. It could be lighting a candle while you pray as a symbol of divine presence. It could be turning off the noise for 10 minutes and worshiping quietly. Maybe it's writing a note of encouragement to someone who's been carrying unseen pain. Whatever it is, let it be your prophetic act, a visible expression of invisible faith. When you act, heaven moves. The moment your physical world aligns with your spiritual conviction, power flows. You're not trying to fix an atmosphere. You're revealing the kingdom that's already within you. Now, let's do something together. Wherever you are, close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and pray with me, not softly, but with conviction. Let these words become your own. Father, right now I lift this atmosphere before you. Every weight, every worry, every whisper of fear, I hand it to you. Let your peace fill this space like sunlight breaking through clouds. Let your joy rise and scatter every shadow. I declare that this place, my mind, my home, my heart is under heaven's rule. I choose to carry faith, not fear, worship, not worry. The air will change because your spirit lives here. In Jesus' name, amen. Now open your eyes. Do you feel it? The weight just lightened. That's not coincidence, that's transformation. You've just shifted the atmosphere and you've proven that light doesn't wait for permission to shine. This is your spiritual exercise now whenever heaviness returns. Don't complain about it, confront it. Speak peace. Move in faith. Choose one action every day that declares, "This space belongs to God." Remember, atmospheres don't bow to emotion, they bow to authority. And you carry divine authority because heaven trusts you with it. You are the gate through which light enters. When you lift your voice, walls of oppression fall. When you take one act of faith, heaven breathes again through your life. So tonight, before you sleep, stand where you are and stretch your hands out as if blessing your environment. Say out loud, "Peace, be still." Watch how the room settles. Watch how your heart steadies. Because you just became the carrier of calm in a restless world. Don't underestimate what you've done. That small act just declared war on chaos and crowned peace as ruler. You've learned not just how to survive atmospheres, but how to shift them. And every time you do, heaven laughs again because faith has taken its rightful place. There are seasons in life when silence becomes a teacher. When God seems to step back not out of absence, but to allow revelation to deepen. You have just learned to shift the air around you, to speak peace into the unseen. And now heaven draws you into something quieter. This part of the journey is not about action, it's about awareness. It's about learning to see the divine fingerprints in moments that seem ordinary. You may notice lately that you move more slowly, more intentionally. The noise of others no longer tempts you the way it once did. You begin to realize that stillness is not weakness, it's strategy. The world rushes, but heaven never hurries. The movements of God are deliberate, timed like tides, guided by wisdom so ancient that logic cannot trace it. In this silence, the Spirit starts to unveil truths that busyness once buried. You start recognizing how every disappointment carried hidden mercy, how every delay kept you from walking into something that would have broken you. The pain you once cursed begins to reveal purpose, and you find yourself whispering gratitude for the very things that once made you cry. That's growth. That's transformation taking root in your heart. There is a peace that doesn't announce itself with thunder, it arrives like dawn. Slowly, faithfully, without permission from the darkness. That's the peace now growing inside you. The same peace that Jesus carried when storms rose around his boat and the waves roared, yet he slept. That kind of peace cannot be borrowed. It must be built through trust. The Spirit spoke through the psalmist in the book of Psalms. Chapter 46, verse 10. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Stillness is not surrender to defeat. It's surrender to divine control. To know God here means to recognize your waiting is not wasted. Your calm is not emptiness, it's confidence. You have entered the season where God no longer needs your striving, He needs your listening. As days pass, you begin to notice small divine details. A stranger's kindness, a breeze of calm after you prayed, a song repeating what your soul needed. These are not coincidences, but heaven's language, gentle confirmations that God is closer than breath. Sometimes the loudest evidence of His presence is the fact that you're still standing. You've walked through enough fire to know survival is not luck, it's grace. You no longer ask, why me, but what are you showing me through this? That's maturity faith blooming quietly. There are memories that still sting, scars that still ache when the weather of your soul changes. But even those have purpose. They remind you that pain can either make you bitter or better, and you've chosen better. You carry those scars not as shame, but as symbols of what you've overcome. When you look back, you realize that every time something left, something better quietly entered. God works that way, rearranging your life with gentle precision. You may not notice it while it's happening, but later, you'll see the pattern. His hands were always there. There will be moments when you feel the ache of unfinished things, unanswered prayers, unhealed places. In those moments, remember this: faith doesn't erase questions, it anchors you while you wait for answers. You don't need to understand everything to walk confidently. God's silence is never neglect. It's nurturing something you're not ready to see yet. As the days unfold, you may sense heaven's laughter again, not loud this time, but soft, like a smile behind a sunrise. It's the laughter of a father who knows his child finally understands. He doesn't need to prove himself anymore. You've learned to trust him without visible proof. That's when faith matures into friendship. And maybe that's what this moment truly is, the quiet beginning of friendship with God. No longer asking only for blessings, but simply wanting His presence. It's when your heart whispers, even if nothing changes, I'm still grateful you're here. So sit with this stillness for a while. Don't rush the next lesson. Don't force the next sign. Just breathe. Let the quiet speak. You're no longer fighting the atmosphere, you're living above it. The storm that once terrified you has become the backdrop of your praise. And somewhere beyond what your eyes can see, heaven is still laughing, not in triumph over you, but with you. Because now, at last, your heart beats in rhythm with divine peace. And in that quiet laughter, something holy happens. You finally stop chasing what's next and start cherishing what is. Peace is no longer a visitor. It's your dwelling place. Heaven smiles, Because you've become what storms cannot shake, a sanctuary of stillness. You may not realize it, but heaven has been preparing you for this moment all along, the quiet in between, the still calm after the storm. You've learned to fight. You've learned to endure. But now God is teaching you how to recognize victory when it arrives. Because sometimes, victory doesn't come wrapped in applause or fireworks, it comes disguised as peace. Look at your life carefully. What you once called delay has turned into protection. What you called loss has revealed purpose. Every time you thought God was silent, He was actually speaking in whispers, guiding you around traps you couldn't see. That's the divine pattern of grace. It hides itself inside what feels like disappointment. You have been walking through a sacred paradox. Heaven strengthens you not by removing battles, but by proving you can stand through them. Every test, every heartbreak, every uncertain step has become a testimony waiting to be told. What you carry now is not pain, it's proof. You are living evidence that faith survives fire. And now, as heaven looks upon you, there is a smile, a holy laughter that says, I told you it would make sense one day. That day is beginning to dawn. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, still breathe truth into this moment. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Every word of that verse is alive inside your story. All things, not some, not most all. That means the heartbreak, the betrayal, the waiting, the confusion, all have been drafted into heaven's design. Nothing was wasted. Every step that felt like wandering was actually leading you straight into alignment. You are standing in a moment of convergence, the season when old pain meets new promise. The tears that watered the ground of your yesterday are now feeding the roots of tomorrow's harvest. This is why you can't give up now. You've come too far, carried too much, endured too many nights wondering if it was worth it. It was. Every bruise has built your strength. Every setback has refined your faith. Heaven is now calling you to look again, not at what went wrong, but at what grew right. Look at how your patience expanded. Look at how your compassion deepened. Look at how your wisdom sharpened. That's divine craftsmanship at work. But I need you to hear this clearly. The next phase of your journey isn't about striving harder. It's about trusting deeper. The strength that got you here isn't the same strength that will take you forward. What carried you through the storm was endurance. What carries you into promise is surrender. It's time to unclench your fists and open your hands again, not in defeat, but in readiness. Because when your hands are open, heaven can fill them. When your heart is open, heaven can move through it. And right now, I want you to mark this moment of faith. Type these words below, "It is done." Those 3 words are not empty. They are a seal. When you write them, you are declaring, I believe that what God began, He will finish. You're releasing every anxious question about timing, every hidden fear about outcome, and replacing it with trust. When you type "It is done," you're not pretending that everything feels perfect. You're aligning with heaven's perspective that victory is already written. You're saying, even if I can't see it yet, I know it's completed in the unseen realm. Those words become your agreement with divine order, your yes to the next chapter. Think of this declaration as a key turning in a lock. Each time you repeat it, another door opens. When the words "It is done" are how faith breathes. They're how your spirit tells the universe, I choose rest over worry, trust over fear, completion over chaos. When heaven hears those words from your lips, movement begins again. Angels shift assignments, delays dissolve, hidden promises rise to the surface. because your faith, spoken aloud, carries the sound of authority, and darkness cannot argue with it. Now breathe deeply and let this truth settle. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be for God to reveal the fullness of His laughter over your life. The waiting has built your character. The pressure has purified your motives. What's next isn't punishment, it's promotion. You have walked through shadow, but now light is breaking open before you. Stand tall in it. Carry peace as your banner and trust as your armor. The God who laughed at your enemy's plans is now smiling at your courage. And when you walk into what's next, remember this moment, this declaration, this turning point. Because from now on, you don't chase signs, you create them. You don't beg for miracles. You become one. Type it again softly, almost like a whisper between you and heaven. It is done. That is not an ending. It's the sound of completion beginning. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to see your situation differently. You've prayed, you've waited, you've done all you know how to do, yet life still feels heavy. The plans you built carefully seem to crumble one by one. You start to wonder if heaven has gone silent. But what if it's not silence at all? What if it's laughter? Not laughter that mocks you, but laughter that knows something you don't. Because when God laughs, it's never out of amusement, it's out of assurance. Every storm that shakes you makes heaven smile, not because of your pain, but because God already sees the outcome. He sees what's on the other side of the tears, what's being built in the ashes. You see loss. He sees layers being peeled away so your true strength can emerge. You see endings. He sees preparation for something greater. The ancient words recorded in the book of Genesis, chapter 18, verse 14, still echo today. Is anything too hard for the Lord? That question isn't meant to shame you. It's meant to lift your perspective. When you start looking at your life through the lens of heaven's laughter, you realize that what looks impossible from the ground is already finished from above. The delays, the disappointments, the detours, they're not signs of defeat. They're scenes in a story that ends in divine comedy. Heaven wins, and faith stands triumphant. Right now, take a moment to pause. Let's practice shifting perspective. Think of one situation that's been weighing you down, something that has drained your energy, clouded your peace, stolen your sleep. Now, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is heaven laughing about in this? What could God already know that I cannot yet see?" This is not denial, it's divine reframing. You're not pretending the pain doesn't exist. You're choosing to look beyond it. God's laughter isn't mocking your suffering, it's mocking your enemy's failure. The very thing meant to break you is being turned into the bridge that will carry you forward. Now let's move from reflection to release. You've carried this burden long enough. Every worry, every what if, every silent question that's made your chest heavy, it's time to lay it down. Imagine your heart as a table, and one by one, begin to place those weights before God. Lay down fear, lay down control, lay down the timeline you've been trying to manage. Because the truth is, the hands of God hold time better than yours ever could. When you release what's not yours to control, something sacred happens, space opens for new strength to enter. You've been running on empty because your heart has been crowded with what you were never meant to carry. But the moment you loosen your grip, heaven fills your hands again. This is your practice today, your faith exercise. Find a quiet moment, close your eyes, and whisper this simple prayer. Father, I release the things I cannot fix. I surrender the battles that belong to you. Let your laughter become my lens. Teach me to see this storm through your smile, where I see loss. Let me see learning. Where I see delay, let me see design. Breathe new strength into my tired soul and remind me that nothing is too hard for you. Now breathe deeply, Bunam. Stay still for a moment. You might not feel anything shift outwardly, but inside, something is moving. That heavy stone in your chest begins to lift because surrender is the doorway to renewal. You are not weak for releasing control, you are wise. Only strong souls learn to let go without giving up. The burden you lay down becomes the ground from which new strength grows. Heaven cannot refill hands that are still clenched in fear. This is what it means to live under the sound of God's laughter, to trust that He is already weaving beauty into the very thread of what confuses you. When you begin to see your life through His joy, bitterness loses its hold. You realize that even in loss, heaven is not losing. The story still bends toward glory. You might not know how, but you don't need to. Faith doesn't require sight, it requires surrender. God's laughter declares that even what you call broken is being repurposed into blessing. So, today, as an act of faith, do one thing to symbolize your release. Step outside and let the wind hit your face. Write your worries on paper and tear them up. Take a deep breath and whisper, "I trust you." God, whatever you choose, let it mark this moment, the moment heaven's laughter became your lens and your burden turned into breath again. Because when you see through joy, you stop fearing endings. You begin to understand that nothing truly dies in God's hands, it only transforms. And the same laughter that shook the heavens over your future now begins to rise quietly inside you, turning every sigh into strength, every tear into testimony. There is a certain kind of peace that follows completion, the kind that doesn't shout but hums softly through your spirit, the kind that tells you heaven has finished something inside you. You've walked through fire, silence, surrender, laughter, and renewal. Now you stand at the edge of a horizon that glows with promise. What once felt uncertain now feels purposeful. What once felt broken now feels like design. You've learned that God's laughter is not mockery. It's music. It's the rhythm that plays beneath every storm, the melody that keeps your heart steady when the world shakes. And now, you are part of that symphony. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way you love, all of it echoes heaven's joy. This moment right here is sacred. You've become more than a survivor, you've become a signal. Your life itself preaches. Without shouting, without forcing, you carry the testimony that faith works. Someone will look at you and remember that miracles still happen in quiet ways. The Word of God reminds us in the book of Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That verse isn't about grand victories, it's about the quiet, daily persistence of light. The small acts that seem invisible but tilt the world toward hope. Every kind word, every forgiven wrong, every moment you choose love over judgment is a seed. And seeds don't bloom in noise, they bloom in consistency. You've been planting seeds through every battle, every prayer, every act of endurance. Now heaven is saying it's harvest time. But harvest doesn't come only to you, it flows through you. The blessing multiplies when it's shared. So I invite you to do something simple, yet deeply spiritual. Share this message. Not as routine, not as obligation, but as an act of partnership with light. Think of your share as casting a net into deep waters. Somewhere out there, someone is drowning in silence, scrolling through shadows, asking God for a sign that He still sees them. Your share could be that lifeline, a ripple of hope reaching the right heart at the right time. When you like this message, imagine striking flint against stone, sparking light that can catch in unexpected places. When you comment, You add your flame to a larger fire. Your words become a lighthouse in a sea of noise. And when you subscribe, you're not joining a channel, you're stepping into an ongoing stream of renewal. It's saying, I want to keep my heart connected to where heaven speaks. If this message has touched you, if you feel a stirring in your chest, and you want to help these words keep flowing to souls around the world, consider donating. But do it as an act of worship, not duty. Think of your giving like releasing a bird into the sky. You never know how far it will travel or who it will reach. But you trust it will land where grace is needed most. Every seed of generosity becomes a spark in the chain of redemption. You may never meet the person whose heart it heals, but heaven records it as partnership in divine work. You become part of the unseen network through which hope moves. And when you leave a comment, let it come from your heart. Write not for attention, but as a mark of gratitude. Let your words testify. What did this message stir in you? What did God whisper while you listened? Your comment might be the confirmation someone else prayed for tonight. This is more than a post, it's a table. Each action you take, every like, share, or offering of support adds another chair, another light, another reason for someone to sit and be nourished by truth. You're not just consuming words, you're helping them live. So before this moment passes, breathe in and let gratitude fill you. Then do whatever heaven stirs in your heart to do. Maybe that's a simple amen. Maybe it's sharing. Maybe it's giving. Maybe it's just sitting quietly and whispering thank you. Whatever it is, do it with sincerity. Because in the end, it's not about the numbers, it's about the ripples. Every small act of faith leaves a trail of light behind it. The echo of your obedience travels farther than you'll ever see. You are the living proof that faith doesn't fail. You are the evidence that heaven still laughs. And now, through your actions, through your kindness, through your willingness to give and share, that laughter will travel beyond you, like as though you are lighting a candle. Share as if you're releasing a dove. Subscribe like you're planting roots beside still waters. Donate as though you're pouring oil into someone else's lamp. Comment like you're writing a line in heaven's book of gratitude. And as you do, know this: God sees. Heaven smiles. The laughter continues through you, through every ripple, through every act of light. You don't have to shout this message from the rooftops. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is simply carry it quietly. Let it sit inside you like a secret sunrise, warming the corners of your heart that the world never sees. If something here has stirred you, if a sentence found its way into a hidden ache, don't rush past it. Hold it. Let it breathe. Maybe it's a reminder of who you are becoming. Maybe it's a whisper that you are still seen, still chosen, still loved. Let that truth settle deeper than noise. And when the time feels right, when someone close to you is wandering through the same darkness you've just come out of, share it. Not as advice, but as a gentle offering. This helped me once, but if you choose not to share, then keep it as a sacred thing. Write it in your journal. Pray it in silence. Let it echo in the still parts of your day. Sometimes what God plants inside you isn't meant to be broadcast. It's meant to become part of your breath, your presence, your compassion. So whether you pass it on or tuck it quietly within, let this truth stay alive in you. Heaven still laughs, hope still rises, and faith still works. What touched you today was never random. It was a reminder that the light still knows your name.